dealing with the grief of disappointment. How do you do it? This is Reid from reidaboutsex.com.
This is Cathy from theintimacydojo.com. We're talking about expectations. This is video number 3. If you haven't watched the first 2 videos, you might want to watch them because this will make a whole lot more sense.
Yeah. So we were talking about how sometimes your expectations, just the person or people in general, can't meet them. Mm-hmm. And that can be really painful. And so it can be distracting and hard to focus on. How do you move forward?
And sometimes you don't know that you're having expectations. You're just having the upset and the grieving. Mm-hmm. And so hopefully the videos 1 and 2 will help you kind of get your bearings on this. But now we're dealing with the situations where you have a lot of stuff coming up, and it might be because it's kind of connected to some stuff from childhood.
Yeah. So I've worked with thousands of people, and I found that when the grief feels so intense, I've had people that had great lives all of a sudden who weren't suicidal, weren't depressed, were like, this is too much, I want to die. Mm-hmm. And what I found is almost always there's an aspect from their childhood where they felt completely disempowered, and they felt like if they didn't get that thing, they would die. Mm-hmm.
And are they generally in a place in their lives now where they're strong enough or prepared enough to actually tackle that?
Yeah,
that's why it's coming up?
Yeah, I don't think it comes up until you're strong enough to deal with it. Mm-hmm. I think our body, just like the splinter works its way to the surface, our body brings up what we're ready to handle.
Okay.
So realizing, and you ask this sometimes in sessions, you're like, well, how old is this? What's the date, timestamp on this? So asking yourself that can give you a lot more power, because if you're feeling all that grief now, it can feel just like you're 3 and you didn't get that pony that you've been so good for months, thinking that Santa was going to bring you the pony if you were good enough.
Do you want to share something with our audience, Cathy?
I had a pony when I was 3.
I'm like, oh my God, she's going there. Okay,
feels. I'm sharing that intensely because that's how intense it feels to a small child.
But until you realize that this is something that's kind of connected back to your childhood, you may think that
it really
whatever the not getting the job promotion is the end of the world because you've been so good at work and you didn't get the promotion.
Yeah. So noticing the time date stamp on it is huge. And a lot of times people will realize 90% of this is about that 3-year-old experience or that huge disappointment when I was a child. 10% is about now. Mm-hmm. And all of its grief that can come up and you can experience and let go. There's a lot of techniques you can use to do that. Meditation, guided visualization, hypnosis, talk therapy. I love emotional freedom techniques or tapping. But there's different ways you can release the grief so that you don't have to feel so overwhelmed by it.
And then when, in your experience, having worked with lots of people who untangle and kind of dissolve childhood stuff, then what happens in the present?
You just start feeling really empowered. Because when we have echoes from old traumas when we were little, they influence us all the time. We use the analogy of old traumas are like the radio or TV is playing in the background from that time. And people over time build up a lot of different hurts and disappointments. So it can feel like you're in the middle of a TV store with all the volumes turned up on different channels. Mm-hmm. And so it's harder to focus, it's harder to move through without running into some noise. Mm-hmm. And the more you clean them up, you're just kind of turning off those TVs. And you can focus on now and go, wow, he didn't give me a promotion. I thought I was going to get that. I need to rationally and calmly talk to him. I may find a friend to vent to first and talk about slashing his tires.
And then I will ride a pony into his office
exactly.
or her office and claim my victory.
Yeah. So there's
ponies.
There's a lot to clear out that can be really helpful around that. And just feeling the grief and letting it go. I encourage you not to do it alone. Find a friend or a counselor or someone you can talk to, because grief often happened in isolation when we felt disappointed or betrayed by someone. Yeah.
Just watching this video might help, but go get support by living, breathing, human beings that you can sit in front of so that you're not feeling isolated.
Yeah.
These videos and other resources are really great, reading books and things like that, but get out into the real world with people.
Yeah. So what
or
I'd
ponies.
Like... or both.
Maybe just getting a pony will solve it all.
I think it would.
Okay.
What I'd like to do is come back with one more video on dealing with disappointment around sex, because I think that's so core to a lot of people that are watching these shows.
Not with ponies, right?
Not with ponies.
Leave your comments below. Video number 4 coming up next. Boom.